Hey guys, welcome back to the Book Haven with Rachel and Raven. We're so glad you're here. Grab something yummy to drink and let's get this episode started.
We are going to talk about Anne Montgomery.
You kind of made that all sound like one word.
Ooh,
Ellum?
okay.
It's two letters.
L.M. Montgomery.
There you go.
L.M. Montgomery. If you do not know, she is the genius who wrote Anne of Green Gables. And we're going to also talk about a couple of other books that we've read from her.
The reason why we went with Ellen Montgomery is because I think when people think of fall, specifically October, they think of Anne of Green Gables. There's a very famous quote that she has. Anne says, "I'm so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers. It would be terrible if we just skipped from September to November, wouldn't it? Look at these maple branches. Don't they give you a thrill? Several thrills. I'm going to decorate my room with them." So I think people associate, especially the first Anne of Green Gables book with October. I know a lot of people do book clubs and stuff that are Anne of Green Gables or even Ellen Montgomery, because she is such a good, and we were talking about this before, but how she really likes to incorporate being outside. Like a lot of the times when her characters are talking or like pondering to themselves, they're always sitting outside and commenting on the different seasons or the different foliage, and which is part of the reason why I want to go to Prince Edward Island and see all of these things.
Oh, yeah.
I know. So we decided that we're going to talk today about Anne, the Blue Castle, and Emily. And then next year we can get to the other 10 books.
Yes, that sounds like
that will be our goal. Yes. That way I have a whole year to read the other 10.
Yes.
So Anne of Green Gables is, of course, I would say her most famous series. So like if you've read Ellen Montgomery, odds are that you're going to have at least read Anne of Green Gables.
Yeah.
I feel like that one kind of got popular because of the fantastic miniseries that they did back in is that like 90s, early 90s?
Yeah, like really early 90s.
Or was it even 80s? I'm not sure.
Might have been.
But that's when I fell in love with Anne. So I didn't actually read Anne until like just a few years ago. I started the series. And then this summer I kind of got a wild hair and was like, you know what? I'm tired of not having completed that series. I'm just going to do it all. So I had read the first two, and then I read 3 through 8 this summer. And I will say that I really liked Anne, the first one. But I feel like it's like a good TV show where you've had all of this background information that's given to you slowly about all of these characters, and it's definitely not a fast-paced book. So if you're into that kind of stuff, it's not for you. But I will say that you should definitely give it a try. But the going through the series was fun because there are things that get brought up about so-and-so that maybe happened like 2 books ago. And I think if I had spread out the reading, I don't know that I would have picked up on that like joke or something, but because it was so fresh that I was like, ha ha ha, I remember when that happened. I was thinking about like, why did I love these books so much? Because most of them are not the kind of books that I would like to read. One of them is more letters than it is like an actual told out story, but I loved that one. And you always know that there's going to be some old lady, old being in quotes, that's going to find her true love and get married, like every single book. But I didn't care that it was like repeating the same kind of playbook. I just enjoyed it. Was like different enough, but you really like, you root for the characters. You want the characters to find love. You want them to be happy. And I also enjoyed how Anne always found the difficult person, which is always normally the one that ends up finding true love, but the difficult, misunderstood, loner person. And she would befriend them, and it was just like a beautiful story would always unfold of like how that person came to be so misunderstood, and Anne helping pull them back into socializing, and then helping that person kind of reconnect with people when a lot of times they had isolated themselves. So I felt like it was a good, all of them are good in the sense of how to be a good friend, how to reach people and interact with people who aren't the easiest to interact with, and to I don't know, it was just really, really encouraging. And so as you move through the series, Anne is growing up and getting older, and then she has kids. And so then you start following the kids. And then the last one, which is Rilla of Ingleside, is all from her oldest daughter's point of view. And I think that one was my favorite. It ended up being to where it was about how all of the men basically were going to World War One. And it was just so interesting the way she told the story of like how everyone that's left is like following along on the maps to see like where people are going, and just the heartbreak of when people don't come back. And it just all felt so real. And not that I could personally relate to World War One, but just the feeling like, oh, if that person doesn't come back, I'm going to be heartbroken. And because you're so attached to them.
Yeah. I think she does such a good job with making you feel like you know her characters.
Yeah. Well, and it's like I said, you end up rooting for the one where, like, when they're first introduced, you're like, ugh, I can't stand this person. But then by the end of the book, you're like so excited that they end up getting married and not being quite so grouchy. Or I'm trying to think of like, there's one character, I think there's only one character that I can remember that is the aunt. It's, what's the guy's name? The guy that she marries. What's his name? Totally
Gil?
blanking. Yes. Gil's aunt that comes to stay with them for a little while.
Oh, yeah.
In one
I
of
do
the
remember
books.
that.
She was awful. And then I kept like waiting for like her to not be awful or something to happen. And she ends up like moving out, and they never talk about her again. That is like the one character that could not be redeemed. She had to go live somewhere else. And I thought that was funny.
She had to write her out of the story.
Basically, I think they maybe talked about her a couple of, like, it would just kind of like randomly come up, like Aunt so-and-so. But I just thought that was so funny, like, that they ended up like, actually, there's no redeeming this woman. We're just going to send her away because she was awful.
Aw.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's my synopsis, very long-winded one, of Anne of Green Gables. But I highly recommend reading them all the way through.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you're just reading Anne and you're missing so much of the rest of the story.
Well, and if you're reading them as an adult, I think Anne can be, my daughter's read it.
Yeah.
It can be consumed by everybody. Not that you can't read the entire series as a kid anyways, but when you're growing with her, so now me as an adult reading it, I appreciated seeing how she grew into a young lady and then got married and went through the struggles of the kids stuff. And it just felt like I got to kind of watch her grow up, but then I could relate to her so much more in the later books.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot of, if I remember correctly, there is a lot of good wisdom in there too, just about, I think the story of her and Gil's story, I can't remember which one it's in, but just like their struggles too, and their own, marriage and family and stuff like that. Well, Emily of New Moon is a series, and I have read the first book in that series, and it's this, I feel like she kind of has this theme where there's an orphaned child. They move to live with extended family that they didn't know they had. that kind of tale. And I know, like, there are some people that had like strong opinions about this book. I didn't understand why people were like, that book is got some, I don't know, mysticism. Or the way I looked at it, it was a young girl dealing with grief and working through that.
That's interesting, because I don't know if you remember. I think it might have been in, it's either Anne of Ingleside, or I think it might be Rainbow Valley, where it's more about her kids. One of the younger daughters, comes up with this thing about like asking God for something and God would do it. And so I can't even remember, but it's like little kid stuff where it's like, I lost my teddy bear, and she prays for it to be found, and then it shows up the next day. And so she thinks that she's kind of got this like genie in a bottle thing going on, but something happens, and it, God doesn't do whatever it is she asks. And, they end up having this big conversation about how, well, that's not actually how God works and all of that stuff. So I thought it was good. So is it something like that?
No, it's not really like that. It's more of like she talks to her dead parents.
And do they talk back?
No.
Oh.
But well, I mean, even if she was thinking that they did, and like she's working through that in this book, I'm thinking I don't have a problem with that. It's like a child working through grief. It's not like she's trying to conjure up the dead or anything like that.
Right.
I think she's just trying to find her way, and she's young, and there wasn't a lot of direction where she went to go live, and there wasn't anyone helping her walk through that grief. It was like, okay, here you are, you're in this new family, this new rhythm, this new routine, and all of that. And maybe that's why I liked it so much, because I could relate a little bit to that. But it was just like, you've moved here, and now you're going to do things our way, but no one paying any attention to like her grief and what she was kind of processing through.
Which is something that goes to like, like our society today now loves to talk about grief and stuff, when really just a few generations ago, like that's not something you would just like publicly talk about with everybody, of like how much you're struggling through this. It was kind of like, get your bootstraps. What is that?
Yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, and like get on with it.
Yeah. And I think there are parts of that are good, but I think she was processing it in the only way that she knew how to process it.
Yeah, and I guess my comment, is meant for like how Ellen Montgomery did that was probably not like a common way to write somebody processing through grief.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I don't like the criticism that some people give this book, because I just didn't get it. That's why I didn't pick it up for so long, is because I had read just some negative reviews. And
that's so funny, because you saying that makes me want to read it more, just to see what you're talking about.
You should read it. Yeah.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
Okay, and then Blue Castle, we haven't even talked about Blue Castle yet, but Blue Castle, Rachel read it. She encouraged me to read it, and obviously, Rachel recommends things, and then I read them and I love them. So
I'm super good at it.
It's a good one. Do you want to talk about that one?
Well, so I will say that this one just happened to randomly be on my mom's shelf, and I was at her house this summer.
I do remember this now.
Going through it, and I was like, oh, I know this book, but I've just never taken the time to read it. And so I started it at her house when we were visiting in the summertime. And I was actually really surprised how much I liked this book.
Yeah.
I really liked this book. It's a standalone, so you're not having to commit to a whole series. And I feel like this one is more kind of funny and odd. So you almost have to go into an Ellen Montgomery book with like, you kind of know how things are going to play out. It's like a Hallmark movie, but not cheesy like a Hallmark. Well, it might be, but but
No,
kind
I
of
would
like,
tell you if I felt like it was cheesy, like a Hallmark movie.
I feel like she has enough hard things that people go through that it makes it not feel Hallmarky, but you always know that in the end it's going to be okay. Um, I did feel there was at a certain point in this book, though, in the Blue Castle, where I was like, oh, is she going to spice it up and do something different? Of course she did not, but I still appreciated the ending and was like happy with the ending that she gave. Um, it's very like, I I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it because it's so good and it's one of those books where it's like I wish I could read it again for the first time.
Yeah.
Um, because
I
I enjoyed the unfurling process. That's not a word, but
Yeah, I feel like it is a slow start. And I was wondering, honestly, in the beginning, I'm like, okay, where is this going? And why did she like this book so much? Once you get past, like, I don't know how far into it, but it starts speeding up, and it speeds up in the way that Montgomery books speed up. And I don't know, it just had a really nice, I mean, I did not like the main character to start with. She was kind of annoying me.
well, I
Did you
just
find
felt
that?
so bad for her. And
Yeah,
I
I
think
did
it's like
too.
it's one of
But
those situations too where it's like, well, I feel bad for her. She's got a lot of family issues, and I can't like be mad at her for acting the way she's acting when like that's her life that she grew up in.
right.
But
Yeah.
but then she does start making some kind of wacky, decisions and things, and you're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard to talk about this one and not give away
I
what
know.
she
I
all
know.
of
It's
that.
so good though.
It is a really good one. And my review on this one was such a good one. I expected nothing less from Ella Montgomery. So that was how I summed it up.
I think
It
I
was a
just
good
gave
one.
it 5 stars. I didn't even leave because I went to check it before we did this, and I didn't even write anything about it. Because I do think this is one of the ones that's just so hard to talk about without
Yeah.
talking about why you like it, because that's all the spoilers
Yeah.
is like why you actually like it. So I think the plug for this one is you have to stick it out, even like when the beginning feels like what is happening, because it's worth it in the end.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's worth the journey.
All right, so we're going to go into what we're currently reading, and I am going to like throw a curveball in here. So I started a book because it was getting a lot of buzz earlier part of this year. I think because there was a Netflix show coming out and some current events and things that had happened. I don't know. Just a lot of people were talking about it, and the book was White Noise. I've had this book on hold for a long time, a very long time. And it came through yesterday, I believe, on Libby. And I had to put it down. And I feel like you told me, Annette, that book is weird. Maybe it was somebody else. It got a little too far graphic wise, and I don't do books like that. So that one got shelved.
Yeah,
Did not finish that one.
interesting.
So, the next one that I do have on in my docket to start reading is Chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Who's it by?
Hang on just a second. Chayam
Oh,
Pato?
yes,
You gave me the
yes.
hard copy.
Yes.
But because
That's again, shout out to my mom. That's her book.
that's true. From the summer
We just raid my mom's bookshelves.
bookshelf raid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anyways, so that's what I'm going to start next. I think we have watched the movie, which is shocking for me because I normally don't watch the movie first. It's two storylines. It's two fathers who are raising their sons, and the pressure that are on these sons to pursue the religion that they share, in the way that is best suited for each. And it's two separate religions, right? So
Interesting.
yeah. And their friendship And
That
that's
sounds really good. Okay, so what I am currently reading, I know you're going to be super excited, is Amanda Dykes, Dykes. It's Yours is the Night. And it just came through. No. So it just came through. So I don't know. It might be a wah wah wah. But I'm excited about it. It takes place like World War One-ish time period. And I'm not very far into it, so I really can't go into like a whole bunch of detail. But I'm really excited about reading it. There's different story, like different perspectives. So I don't know if that's going to get confusing. And at this point, I think I'm up to like 2. So I don't know if there's going to be another one thrown in the mix, which I'm kind of worried about. But so far, I like it, and I'm excited about getting to it. It does seem like, so when you go on Goodreads, it does seem like the people that read her books and like rate them are the people that read her books, like that like them. It's not getting a lot of traction for people who don't already know who she is. So I will say this is the 3rd one that I have read by her. I have liked the other ones. Raven has not. Anyways, I like her. I like her writing. So I'll be surprised if I don't like this one. But so I don't know if that's good or bad. I've got high hopes. But I'm excited to read it.
I'm excited for you to read it.
So then you can judge me for liking another one. You have only read one though, right?
I know. I probably should give her another chance. I'm kind of hard on her, but
which I don't know why. You only read the one book. You can't be hard on her for having read the one book. And the one book is Whose Waves These Are, which is the most confused. I feel like her titles are so confusing. Like this one is Yours is the Night. It just, like, they're kind of hard. But I loved Whose Waves These Are.
Okay,
and you
I
didn't.
will put this one on hold.
Okay.
To listen to. But then after this one,
you'll give her one more chance.
I'll give her one more shot.
Well, I don't know if this is the one that you should put on hold then. That's a lot of pressure for me. Like, because I'm not even done with this one. I don't know.
I feel like we could discuss it. And then the people could see probably what's going to happen. I can probably guess what's going to happen.
That's so mean. See, who's the judgmental one of the books now?
It's definitely me.
Okay, so my bookish question that has nothing to do with books is, what is your favorite fall time drink? So
I know you have a good one. So what is yours? Because you have a new one that I don't remember if I've tried it before.
I feel like you tried it last year and you didn't like it. So Starbucks, if you want to sponsor us. But it's from Starbucks and it's called Apple Crisp oatmeal. It's got oat milk. And
okay, I
think it's called Apple Crisp. Yeah. And I like how you said our warm drinks. No, girl. This is over ice. It is too hot to have a warm drink.
Oh, I had it hot last year. I guess that's...
Well, so I don't know that I think I've had it hot. I don't know. I like it either way. I just like, pumpkin spice. My son really likes pumpkin spice. We've done that for several years. It's like a thing that we go, the first day open season, you go and get pumpkin spice. His birthday is in September, so it's just a thing that we always end up doing. But last year I saw the apple one, and so I tried it, and I like it way better than the pumpkin spice one.
I did try the apple one then last year. No, actually I didn't try the apple one. I tried the brown. It's like brown sugar.
Oh,
yes. Thing.
I don't like that one as much.
Okay, I really tried really hard last year because I don't know why, but it sounds more mature or like a little bit more, I feel more sophisticated when I order things that are not like what everybody's ordering. Does that make sense? So I'm like
you're some sort of coffee connoisseur.
Right.
That only I know this drink exists.
Exactly. However, I just didn't like it. Let's just be real. I didn't like it. But I tried
The
really
apple
hard.
one or the brown sugar one?
The brown sugar one.
Yeah.
So I'll have to try the apple one and see if I like it. I do like a good pumpkin spice latte, and let me tell you that for years I ordered it just like it came. I'll have a grande pumpkin spice latte. However, I really didn't like it because it was too sweet. And at that point, I didn't realize I could tell them exactly what I wanted.
That says something about your personality as well. Like, I'll just take it how it comes.
I'll just,
It's okay.
yeah, I don't want to ruffle any feathers back there. But no, so then this lady, this is several years ago, she was like, I didn't like pumpkin spice latte, and then I figured out that I could order half the pumps of the pumpkin spice. And I was like, what? So I tried that. And actually, that's how pretty much how I order all of my drinks now. It's like whatever you put in it, I want half of that. And it's just the right amount of sweetness and spice, and I love it.
So let me tell you my thoughts on that.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
So we're celebrating today fall, and I went and got the apple crisp drink, and I stirred it up real good, which is so super annoying. That's one of the most annoying sounds in the world, is like stirring it up with the ice like going around. And so I was stirring it up, and I took a sip, and I'm like, this doesn't taste like anything. So I would be concerned if I told them to do less syrup, that then it would just taste like water. Because sometimes the flavoring is just not that much anyways. You don't ever have that problem?
I don't ever have that problem when I tell them. So even if I order white mocha, because that's my normal drink, at Starbucks, I do the same thing. I tell them I want half the pumps. And it turns out perfect every time. And if I forget, it's way too sweet. So if their drinks are too sweet, just tell them you want half the pumps. All right. Well, we've come to the end of our time together, and our hope is that you have been encouraged to read something new or to reread something old if you're like me. Mostly, we hope that you make time for reading in your life. Until next time.